But folks, there's a few more things I want to point out off our starboard side here, because you can look way upriver there, you're going to see the Garden City Container Terminal up there. If you look up there, you'll see 30 container ship cranes all lined up on one single dock. So Garden City, folks, is currently on this half of the hemisphere, the western hemisphere rather, that is the largest single container ship terminal you will find on this half of the globe. It's also the second busiest terminal in the U.S. with almost 400,000 containers moving in that port every single month. 400,000 a month. So yes, they stay incredibly busy up there in Garden City. Also, folks, one more thing I want to point out up river at least, and that's those 3 large smokestacks that you see up there. Those are coming out of a massive facility called the International Paper Mill, formerly Union Camp Paper Mill. They have one of the world's largest paper-making machines up there. And also, folks, in case anybody on board right now is wondering, why do we get turned around here? Why don't we go further up to see that big container port, right? Well, if you're wondering that, then maybe you've never smelled a paper mill up close before in your life, right? Yeah, I think some of you probably know what I'm talking about. Not the most pleasant smell in the world. And as you can see, the wind is blowing in our favor today, is blowing, to the paper mill from the east. So some days all of Savannah smells like a big wet fart sometimes. And it's really nothing you can do about it. So as you can see, you can thank us later as we get turned around here and make our way back downstream. And right now you can see some of the crew right now to see exactly how they're able to get these lines on these ships right here. They're able to just throw the heating lines over to the guys standing on the shoreline there. And the crew on board the ship uses what's called capstans, basically big, horizontal winches to winch these lines in nice and tight here. There's just a few more things I want to mention about this big amazing port that we're here at the Port of Savannah. So I mentioned earlier that we are the 4th busiest shipping port in the country right now. I'm curious if anybody out here can take a guess as to who number 1 is. Anybody happen to know who the busiest port in this country is? Any guesses out there? No? What's that? No, not Virginia. No. Long Beach. That's very, very close. I'm going to go ahead and give it to her right here. So technically, the port of LA is considered number 1, but right next door to LA, you have the port of Long Beach. That's considered number 2. Then you have New York City, number 3, and yes, then you have us right here in Savannah. We are number 4. A lot of people are very surprised by that fact, wonder why in the world is that, right? Why does such a small city like Savannah have such a crazy busy shipping port? Well, if you look at a map, it'll tell you everything you need to know. We are the westernmost deep water port on the East Coast. So what this does, it helps to save these shippers a lot of money. They don't have as far to go inland to get all these goods where they need to go. So, extremely important to us on a national scale, right? But also on a local one. So between this port and the port of Brunswick to our south, both operated under the Georgia Ports Authority, these 2 ports bring in more than $100 million per day to the area's local economy. That is more than $100 million a day total economic impact through taxes and fees, tariffs, which I imagine those are going to be pull the road button. Things like that. We'll have more than 4,000 people that either directly or indirectly from employment out of these 2 ports. So yeah, very important to us here, right, folks? Of course, as you can see here on the bow, I'm not sure if he's waving at us. No, he wasn't waving at us. He was doing his job. By the way, if anybody has any questions about anything, feel free to come up and ask me. We obviously can't cover every single thing you see out here during this tour, so I'll be happy to answer your questions. I'll try not to bite you if you can ask me a question, for sure. But real quick, as you can see, we are passing up underneath this here bridge. No doubt you've noticed our big old bridge that you've been here. Very iconic piece of our skyline. So currently, this is called the Eugene Talmadge Memorial Bridge. And I say currently because, well, there's a lot of people working very hard to change the name of this bridge right now. Which, I'll let you folks look up who Eugene Talmadge was, and you'll probably get a good idea of why they're trying to change the name of this bridge right here. But folks, it has a vertical clearance of 185 feet at an average high tide. 185 feet. Remember that number for a second, folks. But if you look just behind us here on either side of the river, you'll still see the supports for the older bridge that used to be here. Now, this older bridge was built back in the 50s. It only had a clearance of 135 feet, which was just fine for the ships coming in at the time, right? But of course, over time, ships got bigger and bigger until one day, one of these ships in the 1980s did strike the underside of that shorter bridge there. So, they realized they had a big decision to make here, either get out of the shipping business or build a bigger bridge. So obviously they did, right? So they completed this new bridge in 1991, and everybody at the time was excitedly saying, now we can accommodate 98% of the world's sailing merchant ships underneath our new bridge right here. How about that? Well, folks, what do you think has happened since the early 90s? As ships have been getting bigger and bigger, right? Especially over the last couple of years with these bigger Neo-Panamax ships coming in here. In fact, a really good example that just about a month ago, this container ship came in, same size as the one that we're about to see here in a minute, except that day it was coming in, had an air draft, meaning from the waterline to the very top of this ship, 188 feet up. Remember what I just said the clearance of that bridge was at high tide? That's right, 185, right? So, of course, the vessel couldn't quite wait for high tide to go into the bridge. Excuse me, but they also couldn't wait for low tide because they were drafting about 40 feet at the time. So this vessel that day had a extremely narrow, clearance to be able to fit underneath that bridge. In fact, I have a video on my phone. We got to watch it come up towards the bridge, and you knew how high it was. So I zoomed in really close to the top of the wheelhouse, and you can see one of the crew members standing on top of the wheelhouse, touching the underside of the bridge as they go underneath it. So it gives you an idea how close these ships are getting nowadays. It's kind of a good saying out here, but about this bridge, there may come a day in the future we're going to have to think about building an even bigger bridge. Well, that day came about a week ago during the port address over at the convention center. Everybody, all higher up to the port were getting together, having a big meeting. They announced that they are funding a study to figure out if we need to build an even bigger bridge to accommodate bigger ships in the future.